is Rich Considine. I did my presentation on the Vietnam War, and more importantly, how the Americans felt about it on their own soil. Most, if not all of you, probably have learned about the Vietnam War sometime in your schooling, whether that's the specifics about who was in the war, or why it happened, or just why, or how Americans felt about it on their own soil. It is interesting how different Americans viewed the war. There was many different ways that people felt about it. Some protested it, some didn't. And before we get to that, let's talk about the war itself. Okay. So, before World War II, the French owned Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam as a whole. And then when World War II started, Japan took over Vietnam, and they ran that for the majority of World War II until they were devastated and bombed, obviously. So after World War II, the French took back over, but that didn't really last long, because then China, which you can see at the top, they became a communist country, and their influence on a man named Ho Chi Minh, with that influence, made him declare Vietnam an independent country and start a war with the French. His forces eventually won, and they got the French out of Vietnam. That's when Vietnam was then split into North and South. The North became the communist part, which was him and his leaders, and the South remained followers of the French. Right off the bat, South Vietnam did not have a strong government. It led to many people quickly turning against it. And North Vietnam also realized this, and they took advantage and sent their army, which they called the Viet Cong, in to invade. During all this, America was already fighting a battle versus communism. It promised to help countries in danger of a communistic government by sending whatever they needed, troops or advisors or something like that. That's when John F. Kennedy made the decision to send military advisors to Vietnam. He saw them becoming a communistic government, which is what he was against. This helped for a little while until an American warship was attacked off of the North Vietnam's coast, and that's when Lyndon Johnson started sending troops, officially launching the Vietnam War. In the beginning of the war, America as a whole was kind of behind the decision. They agreed that communism was bad and it had to be put an end to, but this view quickly changed. It changed when Americans started seeing how brutal the war had become and how many of their soldiers were dying. There was even a body count on TV where they would show how many soldiers the U.S. had lost and how many the Germans had lost, and the numbers were staggering. Because of this, many started protesting the war, and they did that in different ways. Men who were eligibly drafted often fled to Canada. They would do so and raise the Underground Railroad of other anti-war supporters, so they would just go from place to place all the way to Canada. Many protested outside of the draft office, which at the time was very corrupt. And then there's people who turned to drugs and attended music festivals such as Woodstock to show their protest. There was a lot of people who protested, but there was also many who did not. My uncle, who I've interviewed, was one of those people. He joined the Army in a time when many of his friends were getting drafted, going his sophomore year in college. Although he did not want to fight, he joined because he thought it was his duty to serve and protect the innocent people. He was a minority whenever he basically wore his military uniform. He told me a story of how his girlfriend at the time wouldn't be seen with him if he was ever wearing his uniform, which to me I thought was pretty crazy. The My Lai massacre was another big event that persuaded a lot of people that the anti-war position was a better one. This was one of the most brutal events of the war. A group of frustrated soldiers before this had just lost many of their men in this town of My Lai to the Viet Cong, and they were given a mission to search and destroy any of the Viet Cong that were left in the town. Well, when they got there, there was none there, but instead they killed more than 300 unarmed women and children. It's basically the opposite of what a true American soldier should have done, and their actions were questioned greatly by the American public. The American public was outraged and believed that the government no longer wanted to stop communism, but to basically kill all of Vietnam. The use of napalm, along with the Minot Lake massacre, basically turned the whole public into the anti-war side. And these pictures are just some of the pictures from there. You can see the flames, which is the napalm chemical. American troops started to be withdrawn after a heavy attack from the Viet Cong and more pressure from the U.S. public to get our troops home. Right after we left Vietnam, South Vietnam was basically run over. It became one communist country, and it was America's first lost war, says many. And instead of coming home as heroes, which we're used to seeing soldiers come home as heroes, many were viewed as losers because they weren't supposed to be over there in the first place, according to the American public. This shows how strongly the American people opposed the war. Americans saw what was going on in Vietnam and knew that it was wrong, and they took a stand against it. Many were forced to leave the country, like going to Canada. But since my uncle stayed, he still hasn't regretted it. He learned a lot of leadership, and he said that one quote that he got on his first day of ROC training was, he was standing in the back, eyes attention, and someone whispered in his ear, "You're tall, just like Lincoln and Washington," and they were great